We got Mike Cernovich here. He says, ask anyone inside a large organization who is really in control. The answer is always HR. Twitter's trust and safety was HR on Liver King levels of steroids. You crossed them and you're out for being dangerous and a threat. He said that in response to this tweet from Daniel Bostic, who says, Cernovich just exposed a divide between Elon and Jack. Either Jack was lying all along and is carrying on the deception, not super likely, or his company was totally hijacked by far-left activists and lawless corporate bureaucrats, very likely. Let's get into it. Mike Cernovich responded to a tweet from Twitter's Trust and Safety saying they were resigning. He said, you all belong in jail, and linked to a story from the New York Post. Twitter refused to remove child porn because it didn't violate their rules. Elon Musk says, it is a crime that they refused to take action on child exploitation for years. Jack Dorsey said, this is false. Elon Musk responded, no, it is not. When Ella Irwin, who now runs Trust and Safety, joined Twitter earlier this year, almost no one was working on child safety. She raised this with Ned and Parag, but they rejected her staffing request. I made it top priority immediately. This is the level of corruption we have seen in this country. On Twitter for years, on social media, they were posting pictures of children in disgusting ways, and they did nothing. So when we say that Elon Musk did more than the GOP ever did, more than the FBI ever did, he gets in day one, he says, my top priority, ending child exploitation.
It gets even worse than that. There was victims of a lot of this, CP, a lot of this adult child content that were coming to Twitter and were saying, hey, this is happening to me. I'm being targeted. My photos here are being released here. I was a child. This is illegal. Please get rid of it. Twitter was like, too bad. We're going after all the Republicans. We're going after...
We're going to ban Laura Loomer.
Yeah, we're going to ban people for their political speech. And that right there shows you the priority that they had there. As of course, I was screaming about this years ago. I was like, there's ISIS on the platform. There's people beheading people. Yep. There's radical Islamists recruiting on the platform, and your main priority is a satire comedian? Are you freaking kidding me? You have so much to do, and you fail us time and time again.
So the Ayatollah of Iran saying death to Israel, death to America, and he nothing happened with his Twitter.
Well, right? Chinese propaganda, Chinese government actors coming on. Nope, that's fine. Yeah,
so seeing Jack come out and then being smacked down by Elon Musk is absolutely promising, because what Elon Musk is talking about here is criminal. If you know a crime is going on and you don't do anything about it, you're a part of that act. A lot of people get charged for this, for being an accomplice. There was children coming to Twitter, and they ignored them. Well, that is absolutely that should boil your blood right now.
Let's contextualize this. It's not like, what was the last episode of Seinfeld? The Good Samaritan law, they get arrested. It wasn't like someone was standing on the side of the road, they saw someone getting kidnapped and went, I'm not getting involved. No. This was, they're driving the car and they get an Uber and they pick someone up who's like grabbing a woman off the street and throwing them in the car, and they're like, hey man, I'm just a driver, don't mind me. That's what it was. Twitter was facilitating this. Twitter had created a platform allowing these people to do these things, to post these things. They were the vehicle by which this stuff was delivered. And they had an obligation to say, we can't have that illegal activity in our bus. But and they did nothing.
It's not just Twitter. It's every social media platform. Of course. Because they're smart, man. You got to give it to them. They control all the social media. They won these elections. And they control the universities, like before you were saying. They control education. The Democrats, you got to tell them, they did something right. All the social media, mainstream media, education, they control everything, and they're ruining society. So if we don't do anything about it now, like Tim says, we're going down a terrible path.
We built Minds, the social network, and I was an administrator for like 5 years, and we had to deal with this. Fortunately, it was a smaller amount of people per day, probably 1% of what Twitter gets. So it was still manageable centrally. We still had centralized administratorship, which is a fault of a system. A centralized planned system cannot handle that amount of child porn that will come on. But you send it immediately to the FBI. If you find something illegal, particularly something as egregious as child porn, FBI immediately is notified, and it's removed. You can't even have it there in a holding pattern because having it is illegal. So you need to immediately reference and take care of it.
It was on Twitter servers as Twitter was meeting with the FBI as they were ignoring the problem. You never saw the feds investigate Twitter for this, but now they're investigating him because Elon Musk took the company over and is prioritizing going after child pornography on the damn program, on the damn platform. Are you kidding me?
I think Twitter would have hired who Clinton hired when she cleaned all her emails, right?
Yeah,
how did they not know, you know what I mean? He's going to come in and go through everything and expose them all. Like, how did they not bleach it all?
I could see the argument of like, it's just too much data. Like, there's no way we can handle this. But that's like, I agree. So maybe you shouldn't be in control of it if you can't handle it.
But that's not the argument
I'm surprised.
here. They knowingly knew it was happening. They knew the victims, and they said, we're just going to keep it up.
What Jack said when they said Twitter did nothing to prevent this, Jack said, this is not true. I think what Jack, it's kind of like double speak. What he's saying is, no, we did some things to try and prevent it. But what Elon's saying is it wasn't prevented. You may have done
that
some.
wasn't their top priority. Their top priority was to censor conservatives, right? That's what they were getting at.
Somebody posted his super chat. Murph tries. I want to read this one. He says, Elon, we are going after CP, celebrities. Quote, this platform just isn't what it used to be. I'm leaving. You think about that and you think it's a joke, right? But then you think about people like, you know, Harvey over in Hollywood and what he was into. And then, you know, I'm thinking about these Twitter employees who refuse to quit. But then Elon comes in, starts cleaning stuff up. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, no, now I have to leave. And then you take a look at books like that, Genderqueer, where it's got adult activities in it. And they're showing it to kids. And you have this school in Chicago that Project Veritas exposes, where the dean talks about how he brings people in to share adult toys with children and explain how to insert them and the difference between lube and spit. And you have to wonder, are we just being naive in assuming these people don't want to target and prey upon children?
Yes, because there's also the Balenciaga scandal. There's also the corporate media advocating for child love. There's also, of course, politicians trying to normalize a lot of this nonsense and insanity, especially in California. There's also the FBI for over 30 years that were helping Jeffrey Epstein run an international trafficking and extortion operation as the children and victims were coming forward to the FBI, and the FBI said, screw off. So this is not a coincidence. I don't think this is an accident.
On top of that is Sam Bankman-Fried. No child porn involved in the Sam Bankman-Fried thing, but he had like sleeping with like 8 or 9 different women that he was working with.
That's not the same thing.
But it's highly sexualized.
No. There's a better point in there, Ian, and it's that they're not going after him.
They haven't talked about the sex. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with sleeping with 9 different women that work for you. I don't care. But you could argue about the ethics involved in that. But where's the talk about it? Like, it's so underground sexual, you know.
But it's not. I don't care about the SBF orgy stuff. I care about the SBF illegality that they're not going after. Why? Because he aligned with them politically.
You gotta watch.
There's also Cuties on Netflix. There's so many examples of this. Just to go back on this particular topic related to this larger discussion that Elon Musk is talking about. I mean, how more blatant do you need it to get? What do you need politicians ditching their Secret Service and going to private islands? Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah. How more obvious do you need it to make it? Seriously. I mean,
what happened with Menendez? Remember that one?
Yeah. What happened with Trump's what was it? Transportation secretary, who gave him the sweetheart deal of a lifetime. You know, again, we could keep going
this
on
is
here.
A problem
Epstein,
I have with
it's just there in your face.
My problem with repealing Section 230 protections for these social networks is that someone in the FBI could put child porn on the Twitter server and then go arrest the CEO for holding child porn. You're like, you can try and track it, but they're so good at hiding where it came from.
That's not Section 230 pertains to civil litigation, civil tort.
I hope so, but I mean, I think you really do need to protect these platforms. As egregious as it seems, it's hard to navigate.
Under that premise, Ian, you're saying that Section 230 actually allows someone to legally hold child exploitative material. It doesn't. These platforms, like you were saying, you can't have it. Section 230 does not protect that.
Okay. Yeah. This is it's a long-term conversation about things other than child porn as well, but things that may be deemed illegal and about who's in trouble for having the illegal content. Is it Twitter or is it this person that uploaded it?
He's a sheriff in Florida. Like, everybody knows him. His name is Grady Judd. He's like pretty famous. And they're constantly setting up this child pornography rings, you know, always online. You always read about them. They're arresting. So they should be doing more stuff like that. But counties could do that. You know, you don't have to leave it to the main social media platform. If it's happening in your county, then they could set these people up and hold them accountable where they should be. I think it was crazy. The last time he made an arrest in Polk County, a lot of these people were working at Disney. They did a sting operation.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? Mm-hmm. Grady Judd did, Sheriff Grady, he did a sting operation and like 10 people were working at Disney. Imagine that. You have your kid, you're strolling around and you got one of those Mickey Mouse kids.
And that routinely happens. There's a lot of news stories month after month. Caught at Disney, Disney employee or Disney network. Again, they employ a lot of people, but there's also a lot of coincidences, especially with some of their symbolism in some of their child movies that is also very disturbing and deserves a conversation on its own.
So these people get a job at Disney. It's obvious, right? They want to target kids. What other place do you think these people might try and find employment where they can surround themselves with children? Is there another job?
Like, public service inside of
nursery school
where the kids go,
What?
I'm
Like
trying to allude. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Oh, that's right. If they're going to go to Disneyland or World or whatever, because there's a lot of kids there, maybe many of these people will go to grade schools too to be surrounded by kids there as well.
Oof. Well, I could talk about the school sexualization, but I mean, you made a good point about the entertainment industry. You guys mentioned Disney, but that whole industry, man, it is dirty for kids. It is dangerous to get kids into that. I was there as an adult and they were trying to get me to do porn.
It's scary. You can't, raising a kid these days. You just can't. You guys any of you have kids? No.
Negative.
If I would, I wouldn't be telling anybody.
One day you guys will have kids and you'll see, you just going to have to keep an eye on them, and private school's the answer.
Yeah, the world is so crazy. If I would have a kid, I would never be posting photos of it. I would never tell anybody about it because how vicious and crazy some people are.
Smart.
Yep.
A lot of people will.
I worry all the time with my sons. Every day I worry where they are. And they're adults. Just because I'm damaged from what I went through, you couldn't imagine something happened to one of them.
I would see pictures of people with their newborn babies, but they'll put block the face out. A lot of people in the last 15 years were putting the full baby face and everything online, so everyone knows what their kid looks like. Beautiful baby. It's a chance for us to be like, yeah, let's support the beauty of the child. And I think collective consciousness, I think that it actually enhances the beauty of humans when we can all appreciate each other. But it also lets everyone in the world know what your baby looks like. And that's, like you were saying, Luke, I mean, that's pretty wickedly terrifying. Because we know that governments will go after people's kids. They'll be like, he should have had a better father. There was Jamal, what's his name? Is this Khashoggi is the guy?
He was the reporter. He was the
Khashoggi's a different guy. It was the kid. The 16-year-old was killed by Obama on a drone strike.
Abdurrahman al-Awlaki.
Yeah, al-Awlaki. And he's the son of a terrorist. What they call the terrorists. So they killed his son.
What was he though?
He was working with the Pentagon before when it came to de-radicalization. So he was working with also the intelligence agencies.
The father?
Before. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Anwar, I don't think his dad committed any crimes. He was a preacher. He preached jihad against America.
I see.
And they said, well, his speech is, warrants. I could be wrong about that, but let's just, that's why I usually I stick to discussing Abdurrahman, 16-year-old kid from Boulder, lived in San Diego, I think that's what it was. Then he goes and flies to Yemen to visit family, and then Obama blows him up.
Well, the father had a lot of connections to the government and the Pentagon, and then he became radicalized and became a cleric, and then started preaching radical Islam.
And then the son was killed.
Yeah, he was killed. The son was killed, and then there's reports of the daughter being killed off of the first few days of the Trump administration on a commando raid that Obama wouldn't call off on, but Trump allegedly called off on. That's the official version of events.
Could have been an accident. Could have been North Korea style family targeted execution.
I don't claim to know what's going on.
I think the United States sent a clear message that if you screw with us, we kill your kids.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the vibe I'm getting, and partly why I don't want to put pictures of my kids all over the internet.
I mean, if you look at the extradition and torture that the intelligence agencies were doing, especially when it came to flying people to Egypt, what's his name talks about this? Majid?
Yeah. Oh, Majid Nawaz.
Majid Nawaz
Brilliant.
talks about this all the time. Sorry for butchering your name. I think I'm just dyslexic and I'm just horrible with pronouncing names. But he talks about how, many times routinely people get picked up, sent to Egypt, and again, we can't even discuss some of the horrible things, the torture that people have gone through officially under the rendition flights and the torture flights that were conducted with your tax dollars, and including children, including hurting children in front of parents and doing unspeakable things that you can't even mention. How do you say his name again?
Oh, it's Majid.
Majid. Yeah, Majid talks about this in detail, but it's a conversation that a lot of people aren't ready for.
You'll always remember Majid's name because it's like magic.
I grew up with a kid in high school. His last name was Majid.
Dude, Majid Nawaz is a brilliant, I don't know what you call him, a scholar. I don't know how you define the guy.
Reformed terrorist, I believe.
Yeah. He's a brilliant guy. He was in that prison in Egypt. He describes his situation. He's a brilliant, fascinating thinker, and his content is top notch right now when it comes to speaking out against a lot of the craziness that society is dealing with. And now he's helping de-radicalize a lot of people. Which I think is absolutely critically key and important, and in many instances doing the opposite of what the intel agencies are doing.
I think a lot of the benefit people could get right now is don't worry so much about showing the world your life. I kind of went through a phase where I was like, I want to document everything so I can get my likes, and also I'll be remembered. Who doesn't want to be remembered? But it can be like less is more sometimes.
I think you guys got a good what you're doing. You moved to rural areas. I think it's great. I live. Like
chickens.
Chickens, goats, chicken cam. You got to do a goat cam at my place.
Yeah, Goat City.
We could do a goat cam.
Goats are awesome.
So living rural, I think, is going to be the future for a lot of families. Doing some homesteading, raising your own beef. That's a way to get your family be involved with them. And
raw milk, eggs, nature, fresh air, no pollution.
People go tap their sink water in the city, and then they're like, I got to go to the grocery store to buy my food. You think it's your food? You think that's your water? They can turn it off. If the grocery store doesn't have it, you don't have.
It happened. Yep. You saw it with COVID. You couldn't get a lot of the things. Where I live, I'm hungry. I'll just go out and kill a goat. Or, you know what I mean? We got no more chickens. The dog ate all my chickens. But I have 120 goats. They're great to watch. They have 2 to 3 a year. So they're constantly growing. I don't name any of them. They're all numbered. On the ranch, you never name any.
I heard something really clever from, I think it was from Kim. She's our chicken tender. She said a friend names their birds after holidays. So that one's Christmas,
Thanksgiving.
That one's Thanksgiving, and then when you eat them.
Yep, that's pretty cool. But we don't. The only thing that has names on my ranch is dogs.
How many dogs?
We have 3 dogs, 2 livestock guardian dogs, and I have a Malinois.
Which one ate
the Anatolian Shepherd? I couldn't knock that out.
I have a German Shepherd too. I raised it on a farm, and I made sure to teach it. I was like, hey, you stay away from the chickens. You respect the chickens. Yeah, it was tough. It was because they have that drive, especially the shepherds. They love to chase things around. They love to
thing running around.
They're like, we need to get it. It was a lot of work.
I have a Malinois that's trained to a T. I love him. I got him when he was 2 months old. And it was training him to not go after the chickens. But e-collar is a really good tool for anyone that's training the dog seriously. I have an e-collar, and it didn't take me too long for him to keep him off the chickens. But what's pretty interesting now is, he's a protection dog, and he does everything for me. But now I got him herding too. He loves it, man. I'll go out there'll be 100 goats out there, and he can move them. I got to be really quick with the button because his drive will get too high,
goats.
And he could easily just break one's neck.
How much land do you need for 100 goats?
Well, I have about 750 acres.
Wow.
And we move them. It's pretty. I live in this area that it's free open range. So lately, the price of hay went from $7 a bale to now $21 a bale. So a lot of times I just open my gates and I just say, this is nothing's for free here. You know what I mean? It's not like in the city where you get your food stamps and you don't have to go work for yourself. So I send the goats hey, go out there, find something to eat, or you're not going to have anything. You're going to go hungry. So it's pretty interesting. I wake up in the morning, I'm looking out my ranch. I see them going out the gate. They're going down the street like a mile. And then I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. They come back at the end of the day. They're coming back. They know where it's safe. And they're such interesting animals to watch.
I went to California during the drought to interview farmers. And we went to a bunch of dairy farms. I go to one, and we literally just walked up to houses, knocked on doors, and guy answers, and we were like, "Hey, we're reporters. We wanted to get the opinion of farmers because of the drought, because of the regulations." And he's like, "Yeah, for sure." And he walks out and he shows us around the edge, on the side of his building, and there's a whole bunch of cows just eating, and there's no fencing or anything. They had their machine where the cows could go in and get milked. Yep. They had the thing where all the food was being put, and I can't remember exactly. It was probably hay or something, and then I don't know what they were eating. But then I was like, there's no fences. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, can they just leave? And he goes, where would they go? And I was like, I don't know, just randomly walking off and going somewhere. And he was like, but where? Why would they leave their house where the food is?
So made.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. He's like, I don't need to put a fence up. I'm not worried about it. He's like, there's no predators.
That's like the kid that doesn't leave his house, living in the basement. He's got the refrigerator's full. He's got heat, air conditioning. He's got a car. There's no
not going anywhere.
Go anywhere.
Yeah, the cows got it made. They don't want to leave.
Yeah, these goats. I thought when I first got them, they were like, I thought they would never come back, and it's just interesting. They're creatures, and they're coming back. So
how much is like the average goat weigh?
Average goat, I would say, is about the mama goat's probably about 130, 140 pounds.
So how much food does one goat produce when you slaughter it?
Oh, the food probably about 40 pounds. You probably
40 pounds
get 40 pounds of meat for each goat. It's delicious. Like I don't want to buy. Like I'm at the point now. I just started a herd of cattle too, so we have about 5. You learn a lot about the cow business. You know, when living on a ranch, what a heifer is, what a cow, what a bull heifer is. There's just so many cows that I'll teach you something. So if a cow's pregnant, you don't say pregnant; it's covered. Or open. If they're not pregnant, they're open. If they're pregnant, they're covered. This is what I learned moving from East Coast out to Oregon.
How long does that 40 pound of meat last your family?
We usually I'm pretty generous with it, all the time with friends and family. We're always we gave it away or we're always constantly eating it, but it's really great to be able to raise your own meat. I explain it to people. It's like, what's the difference between having a garden and raising tomatoes? I'm just raising beef.
Right.
Or goat,
that's the dream right there. That's the life.
I love it, man. I using the stuff that you raise and I know what they're eating, I have no problem killing them, eating them.
What about the udders and the internal organs? Do you eat that stuff too?
No.
No beef liver? I got to turn you into beef liver. We got to have a conveation about this.
Well, as a kid, I used to eat liver all the time when I was growing up, but I have my first steer now, so he's about 600 pounds. So I won't butcher him till the fall. He was born in June, but I have another 5 that are covered that'll be giving birth, and they take about 9 months, to give birth, a cow, and a goat's about 5 months.
If you're not going to be doing anything with the liver, I'll gladly take it off of your hands. But I would love to have a conversation about organ meat, because there's a lot of important stuff that a lot of people don't get, especially when it comes to a lot of the American diets comparatively to a lot of other international diets that do prioritize organs, because they're usually more nutrient dense than, of course, a lot of the meat.
But I'm definitely not going to let anything go to loss.
The saying is usually nose to tail.
The butchers, it's crazy. They're so busy, where we live, that you could make an appointment. If you want to butcher a cow, it could be 7-8 months out for the butcher to come. So I'm almost have to for next fall soon. I'll have to make, unless I got a neighbor that's a pretty good butcher.
There's a huge shortage, and it's so expensive. Many people don't understand. That's one of the biggest expensive, parts when it comes to raising animals.
Yeah, it costs me, if I want one of my neighbors, he'll do a goat for me for about 100.
You're raising these animals. Do you have concerns about parasites in them when you're eating them?
No, we constantly, not all the time. If I know now from watching when an animal's sick, and we'll treat it. Once a year, I'll treat them, and everybody heard of ivermectin. The ivermectin works great for the parasites with goats. You just put a syringe, you just fill it, and they need it.
Is that all you use, ivermectin?
Yeah, and with the goats I'm fortunate. I have a lot of pasture and irrigation, so I can move them around. It's when these animals sit in their own pasture, and they'll eat stuff down, and they get sick a lot more because they're eating down to the ground where their feces are.
Yeah.
So I learned I went from looking at scrap metal to looking at real estate. Now I look at goat shit on my ranch to see if they're sick or not.
So
it's crazy.
You do have cows though, right?
Yeah, we have some cows.
How much milk per day does a cow make?
Oh, we don't. These are beef cows.
Those are beef
different.
Cows. Right.
There's beef cows. There's Angus. There's Herefords. There's Charolais. You'll learn all these things.
Oh yeah. For sure. We want to get a cow, and we were told no because they produce 8 to 12 gallons per day.
What they're not telling you is even with the goats, if you start milking a goat, it's like a full-time job. If they don't have a kid on them, you got to milk twice a day, or they go through some serious pain. You know? But you're gonna get a beef cow. You buy a steer, and you got enough acres. You put a steer on it, and you feed them, or you probably have enough feed on. You said you had how many acres you got?
Like 50.
So you got enough.
A lot of trees though.
Oh. Yeah, but I don't know. They'll be able to find one.
Goats eat everything, right? They eat the bark off the tree.
They eat the blackberries. You got to see. I'm in blackberry haven. That's their favorite food, the blackberries.
Really?
And blackberries grow 4 feet a year. If I didn't have these goats eating, it would be unbelievable what they do to keep my place looking nice.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.